budget this year for it because it was supposed to come back in, and then again it was cut. It's about $26,000 a year. So in 2 years we were about $52,000 in professional development. So
And the 2 lines above that for teachers' professional development, that's contractual. The teacher's contract includes $175 per teacher.
As well as the net term stipends for the new hires. Lisa Casey looked over her library budget and felt as though she could live within the numbers. It was a lot. So we recommend any changes there.
And as you go down, like Lisa's salary, for Dana's benefit, is you see librarian, we don't have 2 librarians, but we have to budget the part of her salary that she spends at Melrose. We have to budget by school.
Makes sense.
And when we get to the new chart of accounts, not only by school, by subject area, and by individual person, and break that person down, and you'll get a whole lot more detail, but that's why you see repeats over and over again in the budget.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I get the 1020.
And we're very happy to be able to add an increase in a position. This is something we have needed for a long time, and we talked to you when we were at our goals meeting about an area that we're just really struggling with, and in a position that we had full-time years ago and got cut, it desperately needs to be put back to full-time status, and that is the technology coordinator. The numbers are for the salaries of an increased technology coordinator to a full FTE, and the technician that we have. And our technician, Dave, is retired, so he can only work so many days, and he gives us as many days as he can. He does a great job, but that maintains him at the same level of service as we have him for now, but increases the coordinator position. She presently is working 3 days a week during the school year and 1 day a week during the summer. So we're pretty stranded in the summer. And we're very dependent on, especially the business office, on the technology working. So if it breaks down and it's 4 days before someone comes in, that's a problem.
So are you proposing a new FTE on that, or?
No, she was
part-time and you're making her full-time?
Right. Yes,
right. Okay.
With some summertime included. So she'll be working the full school year 5 days a week, during the summer 3 days a week.
Prior to school starting full-time, 2 to 3 days before school starts.
And the technician remains the same FTE.
Is that a certified position?
No. He's a retired teacher.
I meant full-time.
Oh, the full-time, not the way you're writing the job description.
I guess I'm and again, newbie, confused between the tech services, which sounds like was the 30% increase from part-time to full-time, and then the 51% for the person that we've already had. Can you explain?
The 2 underneath professional technical services, those are not our employees. Those are, that's more like the RINET internet service providers, consultants we may use. We're proposing an increase for web hosting services, and make sure that we have our disaster recovery, which would be storing backups off-site.
Sure.
So we'd like to start that.
So the DR is included in the first 2 lines?
Yeah, the first 2 that say salary, and we break their salaries half at each building each.
Okay. That's worthy.
Yeah, we did have an audit, a technology audit, and a series of recommendations for future focus done using some of the stimulus grant funding. And the gentleman that did that, a lot of what you see here is based on his recommendations. He is coming to the next school committee meeting
Right.
to report.
Right.
And so if you've got any questions about any of the technology here, you'll be able to hear where that came from, work the question, why it's there or why it's being worked on.
One thing I wanted to ask about that, as part of the high school review, we had a little bit of discussion about the relative benefits, costs of leasing technology versus purchasing technology. North Kingstown has all their own equipment, they have problems with support and then replacements. Narragansett has leasing. Is that something this technology committee has looked at, or is that
Where there's an item in the capital that we're debating which way is better to go. We thought having that discussion when Clint was here.
Right.
So he could, based on his experience, to give the pros and cons of doing one or the other. We budgeted, when we get there, you'll see, we budgeted for purchasing, but it's still, maybe it would be better to lease.
But we will have that conversation.
These lines here. And then we come down to the special education section, and I would ask Glenn to explain those lines that are highlighted or any others that you have questions on.
Yeah, I'll just do the same thing that Marcia's been doing with the special education budget and just start with the highlighted lines and then stop me if you have any questions. The first thing you come to is our resource teachers. You'll see that there's a change in the salary there. And just to start off with, part of how we fund a few of our special education teachers in this district is through our IDEA money, our Individual with Disabilities Education Act money, federal funds, essentially. So we do fund a couple teachers. They happen to be placed at Melrose. We could choose any teachers we wanted to, but that's where we choose them from. And so part of that, the cost here is decreased by the use of those federal funds. We had, a year ago, we had a teacher in place who left us at the end of last year who was on a lower step, didn't have masters, that kind of thing. This fall when we hired somebody at a higher step, had master's level, that kind of thing. And then the additional increase you see on that line is due to the steps of the teachers we currently are employed with moving forward, contractually. So that's the increase in that line. And then again, part of that cost is reduced due to the IDEA grants. Teacher assistants, last year we had actually budgeted with the expectation of being a teaching assistant at Lawn. Turns out we did not need that teacher assistant at Lawn. Turns out in September we needed that teacher assistant at Melrose. So that line item does pop back up on the next page, but we just wanted to show that we did take that particular staff person away from the Lawn budget. If you flip the page over, you'll see that that person then pops back up in the Melrose location. And then the other increase on the next page that has to do with teaching assistants is currently we have a little person who's in preschool, and he'll be entering kindergarten next year, and usually full-time one-on-one due to his needs. And our preschool doesn't operate on Friday afternoons, and obviously our kindergarten does. So we need to make sure that we're staffed to support his needs in the afternoon. As you kind of bounce further down, you'll see purchase services. I wanted to highlight the fact that our homebound services have gone up. We do have a student that we currently support in that environment, and then any additional costs we're able to use ARA funds for that type of situation. So,
what are ARA funds?
ARA funds are the stimulus funds, not related to our IDEA grant. That's the stimulus package. That's only a 2-year grant. One-time money, yep.
So that's something we need to plan for the future.
For the future, right. Well, it depends on the student's need. Yeah, that's totally dependent upon student need. For next year, we have our funds. I don't know if in a year that's going to be yet, so I'll look through that. The next line down that's highlighted is the child find coordinator. This person is responsible for helping do our required screenings of our pre-K students. These are little people who come to us, roughly age 4, who need to be screened, so you get the